In south-central Uzbekistan is the city of Bukhara, a place where time seems to stand still. Walking through its ancient streets feels like being transported through centuries of history. Let me take you on a journey through some of the city's most incredible attractions. This ancient city has been a major trading hub for over 2,000 years, and you can feel that history in every corner. The best part, everything's super walkable. The historic centre is wonderfully compact, making it perfect for exploring. The Poi-Kalyan Complex is truly breathtaking. This architectural marvel includes a mosque that could hold 10,000 people with a minaret that's been standing tall for over 800 years. The intricate details and massive scale of these buildings will leave you speechless. The Bukhara Fortress, or the Ark, is another highlight that'll blow your mind. This massive fortress served as the residence of Bukhara's rulers for centuries, and its imposing walls tell countless stories of the city's past. If you're planning a trip to Uzbekistan, Bukhara is an absolute must visit. The architecture, the history, the atmosphere. Good morning folks, welcome back to the channel, hope you're doing well. Today is our second day exploring Bukhara, the famous city on the ancient Silk Route. Today we are going to Poi-Kalyan Complex, where there's a madrasa, a mosque and a minaret. We're also going to visit the famous Bukhara Fortress. We had a really great day yesterday exploring Bukhara. It was our first full day out in the city. It's quite small and compact, but it really makes it easy to walk. It's a very walkable city, and I'm hoping we're going to see all the main attractions here in the next few days. You can see lots of these little kind of narrow streets. It reminds me of the Jewish quarter in Samarkand. They're very narrow, and you have this kind of little drainage path the whole way through this little area of the city. And last night we did end up having dinner with our Russian friends who we met in the hotel in Samarkand, so a big shout out to Nastia and Alexei. And look at this, Bukhara is full of these little archways. They're absolutely beautiful and it gives the city so much character. Bukhara is also the flattest and probably the brightest city I can ever remember being in. It's so cool. Yesterday we had a little bit of a sandstorm. It was very minor, to be honest, but you could kind of taste the dust and the sand in your mouth, and a little drizzle of rain. Can't remember the last time we experienced rain on this trip. It was an experience, to say the least. Something that we've seen everywhere in Uzbekistan so far is a white Chevrolet. It's the classic, everyone has one here, and now I want one. It's the best way to travel in Uzbekistan. Salam, how are you? All good? That was the guy Lupe bought her necklace off here yesterday, so a very nice one and a very friendly character. Another guy back there trying to sell us a flying carpet, but the catch is once you try it you have to buy it, so a bit of a risk involved. I did say before that Samarkand was the jewel of the East, but I definitely think Bukhara is a smaller jewel in the East because it is spectacular. So most people would say that Poi-Kalyan Complex is one of the most beautiful complexes in all of Uzbekistan, so we're really looking forward to seeing for ourselves today if that is the case. Today the complex is a World Heritage Site and it's considered one of the most important cultural attractions in all of Uzbekistan. Now, a little interesting anecdote for this area of Bukhara. Genghis Khan, when he arrived here, the legend has it that he ordered everything to be destroyed. For those of you who know anything about Genghis Khan or have done a little bit of research before or reading about him, he was noted for this sort of behaviour. But when he saw Kalyan Minaret, something was said to have changed inside him, and this was the only thing that he was allowed to have still standing once he was finished. And some comparisons have been drawn with Hitler, where in Florence during the war he ordered the whole city to be destroyed, but there was an old bridge that he really liked, so that was the one thing that was said to have been left standing as well. But is this legend true? Some people say yes, some people say no. At the moment we're just sitting out near Arab Madrasa. It's still in use as a Quranic school, and it is one of the most prestigious in all of Uzbekistan, even still today. Here is the door behind me, but tourists aren't allowed in, they have to stay outside because of this reason, because it's still in use today. Let me tell you more about the incredible Mir-e-Arab Madrasa, one of Bukhara's most fascinating religious schools. Built in the 1530s, you can see this architectural gem sits right across from the Kalyan Mosque. It was built thanks to Sheikh Abdullah Yamani from Yemen, who is like a spiritual guide to the ruler, Ubaydullah Khan. The building itself is a real eye-catcher with its two huge domes topping the assembly hall and mosque. The whole facade is decorated with some amazing geometric patterns and beautiful blue tiles that'll make your jaw drop. It's classic Central Asian Islamic style at its finest. And here's something pretty cool. While most religious buildings were shut down during Soviet times, this madrasa kept going strong. Even better, as I mentioned before, it's still a working Islamic school today, which makes it pretty special in Central Asia. So it's 5,000 som each in here, and if you don't have anything to cover your legs or you've no scarf for the women, they will give you something like that. Lupe is there with a scarf. So they'll take care of you here. No question, again, typical in Uzbekistan. The mosques are stunning, the mosaics are beautiful, and it's the size really that gets me the whole time. They're such big structures, and this one reminds me a little bit to Bibi Kanam Mosque in Samarkand, although that one I think was much bigger, but this one is also epic, and the fact that it's so close to the minaret and the whole complex is just compact, you can get to it all at the same time. It makes life a little bit easier. And there's barely anyone around here now at the moment, so we're coming at a good time of the year, I think. But yeah, it's the detail and the mosaics that get me. So there's a guy back there sitting on a bench on his own, nobody around, and when we passed him he was just singing away to himself some sort of Islamic tune. It was quite calming and it was a really nice experience. So you do get these sort of experiences in these mosques. People are open to letting you in, even if you're not Muslim, but it's been beautiful. So we're just after having a really nice exchange with a guy from Kyrgyzstan here. He came over to us from the prayer area and he told us that it's 1 p.m. now, so people are entering to pray. Obviously they pray 5 times per day, and it was a really nice exchange. Even though he had very little English, he did let us know he comes from Kyrgyzstan. We told him that we're visiting there soon, and he was full of questions, asking about how we got here, what's the religion, different things like that. So it was a really nice exchange. Yeah, no doubt this place is very beautiful and it's quiet apart from when the call to prayer comes on, but that just is beautiful, and it's really like experiencing another culture, I suppose you could say. And 5 times a day it happens, or very early in the morning. I think the first one is at like 5 a.m. So they're committed people to their religion. It seems to be an ongoing thing throughout Uzbekistan. Many of the religious sites, obviously because they're so old, they need to get all this reconstruction done, but yeah, does it take away something from it? I don't know, maybe a little bit, but if they don't do it, the whole thing is going to come crumbling down, so has to be done. But it would be nicer if it was just the finished product here, the finished site, but that isn't how things really work, is it? Pretty amazing, but now we're going on to the grand prize, which is the minaret. And standing just beneath it, it captivates your attention the second you walk into the complex here. Obviously it's standing tall, it's tremendously beautiful. The detail, the Islamic writing on it as well, it really captures your heart. So at the base of the minaret it has a diameter of 9 meters, and as you go up to the very top it goes to 6 meters. The minaret itself stands very tall at 47 meters, and it was built in 1127, and really since then it's been iconic for the city of Bukhara. It's the one attraction that people think about and mention when they hear the city name of Bukhara. And just a little anecdote story from the past about this minaret. It was known as the Minaret of Death, amazing name, because it was thought that enemies were flung from the very top here down onto the bottom. A great way of dealing with the enemy, putting them to death. But is it true or not? I don't know, but it definitely adds a bit more character, a bit more allure to this site. And to be honest, I kind of want to believe it. I don't know about you, but you can let me know in the comments if you think it's true or false. And overhead now there is a walkway which later we're hopefully going to head up, get to the top of the minaret. There's meant to be an amazing view there. You can see the whole city at sunset, so fingers crossed we're going to get up there later on today. And if you want to buy some ancient Bukhara clothing, there's a little shop right beside the minaret where you can pick up anything from hats, scarves, silk tops, trousers, you name it. It's all going to be there, and maybe we'll get something there as well. Alright, we just finished exploring the magnificent Poi-Kalyan Complex with its stunning architecture, and now I'm absolutely thrilled to take you to one of my most cherished discoveries in Bukhara, this delightful traditional tea shop tucked away in a quiet corner of the old city. So we're after coming into the Silk Road Tea House now. It's in the centre of the old city, and we're really looking forward to trying some of this amazing tea here. It's 50,000 som per person. You can get as many refills as you want, and if you look around the room here, it's fantastic. They have the carpets lining the walls, they have this beautiful Islamic music in the background. It's playing very lowly, but it really has a great atmosphere, and it's just us two here, nobody else. It's just us two and 2 staff members, so really looking forward to trying this authentic Uzbekistan tea experience. You walk through an old wooden door, escaping the scorching sun and swirling dust storms outside. The cool shade hits you first, then the wonderful smell of fresh tea and spices. The walls here are covered with old clay jars full of herbs and spices, making this peaceful shelter smell amazing. So we get a few sweet treats here as well. Want to take it home. Look at that. That's good stuff. That is some high quality tea. The really nice thing about this tea house is you can get another pot of tea or coffee completely free, included with your 50,000 som, so that's a plus. And you get all these little snacks here as well. They're very sweet and tasty, so it just adds an extra piece of pleasure to the whole experience here. So I've opted for a saffron tea and Luke has gone for a ginger tea, and it's really the nicest tea I can remember having in a long time. So that was an absolutely lovely chill experience. I nearly dozed off twice, to be honest, because the room was so dark, the tea was so nice, and I just felt relaxed. But yeah, here we are now. We're heading for Bukhara Fortress. And there it is in front of us, Bukhara Fortress, or aka Ark. It's quite grandiose, I have to say. It's massive. Yeah, you can see how it's huge on the base, around the bottom, and then it curves in to make like, I don't know what sort of an angle you would call that, but it's quite big even from here. And just beside us there's like an excavation going on as well, so it looks very interesting. So the Ark is basically a royal town within a town, and it's Bukhara's oldest structure. It has been occupied since the 5th century up until only 1920, when the Red Army launched a massive bombing campaign right here. I did read as well, it's about 80% ruins, but there are some royal rooms still inside, and I believe a few museums as well, so this should be very interesting once we do get in. First thoughts looking at the fortress, it's different in the sense that it goes back at an angle. I can't remember seeing a fortress like this before, to be honest. And there also seems to be many of these wooden beams dotted throughout the complex, obviously something to do with reinforcing the structure and keeping it standing. It's really cool to look at. Plenty of these bikes and scooters behind me as well that you can rent There's a few people tearing around outside the fortress here, and obviously Bukhara being such a flat city, it's a great way to get around. You won't believe how impressive the fortress walls are. They tower up to 20 meters high with this cool slope design that makes them look even more dramatic. They built these massive double walls using both mud and fired bricks and added a deep moat and single fortified gateway to keep the rulers safe. At the top of the entrance there is a 17th century Juma mosque, basically a Friday mosque. And there are two stalactite heads in the very top. They're very impressive to look up at as well. So the entrance fee for the Ark is 40,000 som per person. It's open till 9 PM tonight, so we should have a good few hours to get in, see it all, get out and enjoy it. So the reason why this fortress is built the way it is at a declining angle going back is because basically they built an artificial here in this flatland area. That is the reason why this construction is built the way it is. So now we are in the living quarters where the Emir would have been based. He would have received foreign guests, foreign ambassadors here as well. And now some of these houses have exhibits of nearby archaeological sites, including Pakend, Baraksha and Wlakign. So you can learn a lot as well about the ancient sites that Bukhara has to offer as well. Inside the Ark you'll find a fascinating collection of artifacts that tell the story of Bukhara's rich history. The museums house an impressive array of ancient coins, medieval weapons and royal garments that once belonged to the emirs. One of the most remarkable displays includes an intricately decorated ceramic pottery and traditional musical instruments. The throne room, though partially restored, still gives visitors a glimpse of its former grandeur with its ornate decorations and architectural details. So this is the Juma Friday Mosque right here. Now that is certainly the first mosque I've seen with a ping pong table on the outside. I don't know what it's there for, maybe staff like to relax a bit and play a few games when they can, but definitely the first one I've seen. So typical again, one of the women working here has offered us into an area which is closed to the public. You can see 80% of the citadel for 50,000 som each, so you pay a little bit extra. It's not really official work, but it can be done. You might be offered if you come here. We're going to have a think about it because the photo opportunities are supposed to be amazing. She showed us one of the images, so let's see. So we're entering into the throne hall now. This dates back to the 17th century and there's a big throne of a previous ruler in the middle, so one of the historic parts of the citadel. This throne was made in 1699, so you're going back a while, and it's made of marble. So we both earlier looked at a picture at the last Emir of Bukhara, and he was a pretty chunky guy. I can't see him fitting in this throne, to be honest. Yeah, so the chair itself is not impressive at all, but the throne, you can see the marble throne is very beautiful. The detail, it has worn quite a bit looking at it here now, but that's definitely what you're coming here to look at, and not this crappy looking old golden chair. And also it should be said that the roof here was destroyed in 1920 when the Red Army came here and they bombed the absolute hell out of it. It is also the oldest surviving part of the fortress here as well. So that's very cool. On to the next site. Just beside the protocol court you can see the royal apartments here. And it's said as well that the last two emirs who lived here basically preferred to live in their summer palace because these apartments were so badly kept and there was no maintenance done whatsoever, so they didn't spend much of their time here. And as I said before, the construction of this amazing fortress started in the 5th century. It served as the residence of the emirs of the Bukhara Khanate until the Russian invasion. And a lot of interesting characters from the past spent time living here. You may be familiar with Avicenna. I'm telling you, this place is absolutely full to the brim with history. Here in the greeting yard, it was said that between 300 and 400 people daily would take part in the participation of meeting the Emir. And in here there is a nice little interesting museum. It has many different artifacts dating back to the 2nd century. You have clothes, you have pieces of ceramics, weapons, you name it. You're going to learn a lot about the fortress in here. So this museum is called the History of the Bukhara Khanate Museum. It It's so interesting. You can see different parts of mosques, ceramics, items, clothing, weapons, you name it. Look at these dolls and musical instruments. Like, I'd love to try and have a go at one of them. That's very cool. You have all the major sites in Bukhara back in the day when they were built back in the past, and then what they're like today in colour. There we saw an amazing photo which looks to me what depicted the Mongol invasion here, all the horses attacking the fort. It really was a very powerful picture. And another interesting story is in 1222, when Genghis Khan was about to attack Bukhara, all the inhabitants basically took refuge here in the fort for as long as they could. While it didn't end well for them, it was very hard to put up a fight against the Mongol Empire. So now we've come to the stables of the fort. There would have been between 15 and 20 horses kept in here. They would have been the emir's horses, and they would have ridden in entourage whenever they were travelling from place to place. So a very important part of the fortress here as well. You can imagine back in the 5th and 6th century, this fortress would have been an amazing asset to have to protect the emir, protect the most important people in society. But obviously, as the centuries went on, we've seen with the Mongols, it didn't stop them from breaching, and maybe over time it became a little bit more irrelevant and basically not good enough. So this is absolutely amazing. One official has taken us out here to the ruin part where there's not a lot going on. There's a lot of rubble. We paid 50,000 som each. So we have an hour out here. We're going to get the sunset, and hopefully we're going to get some amazing pictures of the Bukhara buildings from here. Have a look at this behind me. You can see again part of the excavations, part of the ruins that they're digging up. There must be so much here that they need to figure out, dig deeper and find. There must be a lot of treasure buried. So basically what we have here is like a big archaeological site. I don't think many people come out here, which is very exciting for us. We're kind of after walking into a deserted area, so maybe we'll find a nice piece of ancient material or an ancient weapon from the Bukhara Emirate. So yeah, not many people come out here, but we have spotted a little group across the way from us. So if you want, you can pay a little bit extra and get access to a place like this. This ruin here, it looks like if you sneezed on it, the whole thing would just fall down onto the ground. Unbelievable. And you can see some of the wooden beams just still sitting in here, holding the structure up, barely what's left of it. Have a look at this, Bukhara from above. Look at that skyline. Woohoo! Lupe, I think we're in for an amazing sunset. So you can see behind me, it's basically built on a mound of dirt and dust. This is man-made. Bukhara naturally is a flat land, and this is basically how they devised this fort here. It's absolutely amazing to see. Look how thick this wall is. How did Genghis Khan manage to get in? Behind me here, I don't know if you can see, but there's a guy currently recording a music video. What an amazing place to do it in Ark, Bukhara Fortress, and fair play to him. You really don't know what you're going to find when you enter this part of Bukhara Fortress. The view from the top of the fortress is absolutely incredible. Looking out over Bukhara, you can see the whole historic city spread out before you like a living museum. The blue domes and minarets of the city's mosques and madrasas dot the skyline, with the impressive Poi-Kalyan Complex standing tall above everything else. It's especially beautiful at sunset, when the whole city glows in a soft golden light and the old mud brick buildings take on warm, rich colours. From up here you can really appreciate how the narrow streets of the old town weave together in their unique pattern. Oh my god, you're going to have to see this sunset to believe it. What another amazing day exploring Bukhara. We got to see Poi-Kalyan Complex and Bukhara Fort. Absolutely unbelievable. The views from up here alone were spectacular, and you can see behind me we're treated to an amazing sunset here this evening, so very happy with that. Poi-Kalyan Complex is a really beautiful place. It's one of Bukhara's most famous attractions, and I can see why after visiting today. The mosque, the madrasa and the minaret are all spectacular in their own right, and to take them off our bucket list again, it's one of the attractions we wanted to visit when we knew we booked our ticket to Uzbekistan. Obviously we've seen you can go unofficially to certain places in Uzbekistan, and it does add a little extra spice, better views, and I think personally for 50,000 som each it was definitely worth it, and I hope you appreciated the views from up here too. We do have another 4 or 5 days here in Bukhara before we get the train to Khiva. That will be our final stop on our trip in Uzbekistan along the ancient Silk Route, so looking forward to making some videos there too. So very last thing, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell. You'll be informed anytime we upload a new video on the channel. Thank you so much again for watching, and we will see you in the next video. Cheers.